YouTube is the most mind-blowing lead source that I've ever seen. And that's why I've gone all in on it. The lead quality is extremely high. My price point in 2020 went up over $150,000, not only because the market went up, but primarily because I was working with higher end buyers.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui, ready for another episode of the Real Estate Rockstars radio podcast. Today, I'm interviewing Cody Steck. Cody's from Salt Lake City, Utah, solo agent out there doing some really cool numbers, some really fun technology to get there. We're about to jump into it. Cody, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. How long have you been an agent?
I've been in the business for about 6.5 years now, and enjoyed every minute of it. You know, it's a business where it's hard to get started, but then once you're in it day by day, the longer you're in it, the easier it gets.
Yeah. Why did you get into real estate?
Good question. So I actually got into real estate. It was always a goal of mine to purchase my first house as young as possible. I don't know why, but when I graduated high school, I thought, that seems like the American dream. Let's go for it. Let's try and purchase a house. So I saved up some money, ended up buying a townhome, nothing fancy, rough part of town, whatever, but it was mine. I was able to afford it. So got into that place. Actually ended up paying one mortgage payment and then realized, wait, this kind of sucks. I have to pay this whole mortgage payment by myself. And that's like half my income. So realized that wasn't, something I, was really comfortable with, I guess, and ended up getting a couple roommates. And I realized that this was a 3-bedroom place. I had 2 roommates and I was in the 3rd bedroom. And I realized that even after the roommates, I was only paying $200 a month to live in this place. I thought that was pretty good. It got me thinking, hey, I could actually move back in with my parents where I was living before and rent out my room. And now I'm cash flowing $200 a month for renting out my room. So I actually kind of got started on the investment side. I didn't end up doing that, but it just got my head spinning about the possibilities of real estate and being a landlord and kind of the investment side of things. And that led me down a path to exploring real estate further in depth. And eventually it just led to me getting my license because I enjoyed the process so much and saw a bright opportunity there and had to go for it.
Yeah. And so with that was like your first investment. What job did you have at that time?
Yeah. So funny enough, I was actually in school. I was in college and also working at a go-kart racetrack. I was making about $12-13 an hour. So a couple $100 a month at that time was a life changer. It was a big deal.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you could even get approved for a loan to buy a house. Back then, you're like a student and working a job, but depending on the house, depending on what's out there, there's all sorts of options for it. I think people get discouraged and think they need a different job to buy a house or they need to save up a lot more money. And there's so many options out there. So what was your first year like in real estate? So when you first got started, where'd you go? Where'd you go to work? What did you experience over those first few months?
Yeah. So a couple of guys that I got linked up with on the investment side, they were doing flips and rentals and, they were years ahead of where I was at. But everybody kept saying, hey, go join a team. You can go into this business by yourself. And some people will make it, but most people need a team. They need a brokerage behind them that gives them training and has the hoorah meetings and whatever. So that's the route that I ended up going. I joined a team and was on that team for about a year and actually jumped around to a couple of different teams over the years. But starting out on that first team was crucial for me to have success. I know for a fact I wouldn't be in this business if I wasn't on the team, just because they provided me with leads, they provided me with business. And I think most importantly, kind of the support and the consistency of, showing up every single day, which is so important in real estate.
How'd you get your first deal?
So at the time, most of the leads we're working were from Facebook. So the team leader was generating a ton of Facebook leads. And, I think most people are probably familiar with that if they've been in the business a little while. People go to the website, sign up, submit their name, phone number, email, that type of stuff. And then we reach out to them and say, hey, saw you looking at some houses. How can we help? And so I actually did Facebook leads pretty heavily for the first 3 or 4 years.
So your first deal was from that?
It was, yeah.
How much and what was the cost like of that? How much did you, did it pay for itself?
Yeah. So I was actually getting the leads from the team leader. So he was spending the money to generate the leads. So I didn't have any advertising cost on my end. The first deal, I'm trying to think back. I mean, it was a condo. I sold it for, I want to say it was like 200,000, maybe 220, somewhere in there. So the commission was about 7,000, or maybe just under, I guess. And after it was all said and done, I think I took home $2,100. So obviously splits, team lead, franchise fee, all that stuff I had to pay was, and then taxes on top of it. So yeah, taking home $2,100 was a little bit rough, but it was a learning opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, like real numbers and real things to share there, right? Like joining a team, the advantages, they brought you leads, they brought you deals, they went and paid for the leads, they went and invested. But then at the end of the day, when that commission's 7,000 and you keep 2,100, you're like, as you're doing that math, you're like, huh. So yeah. So you did that for the first year. How did you get your your leads, more deals on like years 2 and 3?
Yeah. So after about just over a year on that team, I actually made a transition to another team to work with an individual who was selling new construction. So this other team leader I'd known him from where I grew up. He was in the neighborhood, and eventually he saw me get in the business and started kind of having very small success, and said, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I need another agent. I've got this opportunity. Let's see if it's a fit." And I decided, yeah, this is a fit. Let's go do this, because he had an opportunity where he was selling new construction, but he wasn't tied in with the builder. A lot of big builders have it in-house where they've got their own agents. But what this guy had was he had a couple of relationships with like medium-sized builders where we could sell their inventory, but then also have the freedom to go out and do our own business on the side. So that was a huge driver for me to join the team. Actually, ironically enough, the project that I was on kept getting pushed back. We had delays. There was development delays, utility, bringing the utilities in on the property. There was delays there. So it actually took 9 months before closing a deal from that new construction. But during the meantime, I mean, I was at that point, I'd moved on to generating my own Facebook leads, getting into the advertising, all that stuff, and doing open houses to kind of support myself during that transition. So even though I was kind of selling new construction, I was more so continuing on open houses and mostly Facebook leads.
Do you still buy any Facebook leads?
Nope. I gave all that up about 2.5 years ago.
All right. I'm sure we're going to get into that. How many deals you do a year?
Last year I did about 32. This year I'll probably do 30 to 35.
What's the average sales price?
Average sales price, it's gone up pretty significantly. I'd have to check it's been a few months since I looked, but it's probably somewhere between $600 and $650. Okay.
So 30 transactions, 600 to 650. And now you're a solo agent, so you're not sharing revenue with any other team member. Do you have employees? Do you have people on your team? Do you have expenses that do cut out of that GCI?
So I've just got some small expenses through my brokerage, just like most people do. And then I do have a couple of virtual assistants that I work with. I've actually got 2 VAs that are incredible and really cheap. So that's something that I've used to leverage my business. And it's been awesome, because hiring, especially right now, hiring an assistant, it's going to cost you $15, $18, $20 an hour. And that's, even though I'm making really good money, that still seems really daunting to me. I've done it in the past. I did have an assistant, a local, US based assistant for about 1.5 years. And I wasn't making any money, for the work that I was putting in. I just wasn't making money. And so I just said, hey, I need to make a change here, and ended up going with the VA. So I've actually got 2 VAs right now, super cheap, really affordable, and they still produce great work.
How'd you find the VAs?
I actually found them through a placement system that a buddy of mine runs. He runs a company called Sphere Rocket. Not a plug or anything, but great company. If anybody's looking to get a VA, that's definitely where I'd go. He basically sources these VAs. You pay him a finder's fee, and they handle all the interviewing. They do a lot of the upfront work. And that's how I found both of them.
Cool. Yeah, there's so many different versions of that now, right? You can hire somebody on Upwork yourself and do the interviews, and you get to have essentially no fees, but it takes some effort. That one that you've got, it's like almost like a headhunter onboarding system, but they get to go through that. There's other companies, My Outdesk, where they employ the outsourcer, and then they run them through their software. They kind of manage them for you, and they send you an invoice once a month. So many options out there for VAs that can really help grow teams. I've got a lot of VAs. I use a few different systems. I use all those different systems for them. I've hired different ones from different places, and I think that it can really help grow the business. So a couple years ago, you were still paying for leads. What do you think did you ever analyze like what expenses you had per deal? What your cost per lead, cost per phone call was, and how many calls you were actually completing?
Yeah, I did. I went pretty in depth. I mean, I broke it down from how much it cost me to close a deal, how much I was making per phone call or per appointment I was able to set. I broke it down pretty far. It's been a couple of years since I looked at the numbers, but I was spending somewhere between $700 and $900 per closing on Facebook leads. So it was $700 to $900 plus all of the time and effort that goes into following up with those leads. And that was a big part of it, was just all the time that goes into it, which at some point, especially for kind of intermediate to more advanced agents, I think that's something that a lot of people don't focus on. They don't learn how to leverage their time. They don't learn how to outsource or value their time in the sense that, making the best use of it. So that was the other half of the equation that I really looked at for myself. Was it's not just the $700 to $900. Now it's going to be, $700 to $900 plus maybe 20 to 30 hours of follow-up just to get one deal, even though I'm calling through hundreds of leads. So I think that's another big part of it.
Real estate rockstars, this is Aaron and Muchastegi for a quick commercial break. So during 2020 and 2021, the real estate market completely changed. There's so much competition in the market, so many people trying to buy and sell houses, but there's hardly any supply, hardly any product, hardly anyone willing to list their homes. It's time for every agent out there to become a hybrid agent investor, to be able to reach out directly to homeowners to try to get them to sell or list their house. We've got a new website. Go to leadpropeller.com and you can set up your own investor buyer website in just minutes. You'll set up your own URL, set up phone numbers, help go through the leads, help reach out to people that aren't listing their property currently, and have them fill out a form that says, hey, I want to sell my house. And then as an agent, you can go through and make them a hybrid offer. You can tell them, hey, I think your house would sell for $220,000 on MLS, but I can either write you a $180,000 cash offer right now, or I can help you fix it up and you'll list it for $220,000 on MLS. These are buyers that are looking for quick cash offers. Tens of thousands are submitting these forms every single day, and they're skipping the listing process. But so many of you guys out there are such good agents. It's a great opportunity to get that lead and help them maximize sales price for their home. So again, go to leadpropeller.com and think about signing up for your own investor site, so buyers will start reaching out to you, asking you to make an offer on their home.
Yeah. How good are the leads? So you're talking hundreds of leads. Do you have to talk to 100 to actually get a deal, or is it 50 to get a deal? Or
I was closing just under 1%. I was like 0.95% on Facebook leads.
So that's incredible. So our kind of quick math through that is you're probably paying between $5 and $15 per lead. Yep. And just for new agents out there doing different lead sources, just knowing that some of them are from some websites, you might close 1 out of 30, 1 out of 50. I love it when people do know their numbers on some stuff like this. So it's like, if you want to look into Facebook leads, at least a couple of years ago, $5 to $15 a phone call or a lead. And then Cody's talking to 100 of them to get to close one. And it is a great way to get that phone ringing. But if you have 40 people say no, don't get discouraged. Right. Like if that's the business plan you've chosen, you just know that it's 1 out of 100 is okay. And it's about, even when we hire new contractors in new markets, we try to tell people, like, the first 10 contractors we hire, 9 of them aren't going to work, but we're not going to know until we hire them all and get to see. So it's kind of like, you never know who's going to say yes. What do you wish you would have known when you first became an agent?
Oh man. I think the one thing that I probably wish I would have known or just realized a little sooner, I kind of knew it, but I didn't know to what level it would, take place. And that's just that this business is hard. I think a lot of new agents get into the business and think, okay, cool, I got my license, I'm ready to go. I'm going to have friends and family calling me. We're going to sling some deals and make a bunch of money. And I just don't think that's a reality for 99% of agents. Some people have a natural sales ability, or they've got the charisma or the personality or the network to really succeed off the bat. But I think most agents do struggle a little bit. And I guess I kind of just wish I knew that a little bit more up front. Like I said earlier, if I hadn't been on that team for the first or teams in general for the first couple of years, I mean, it would have been, I probably would have fallen out of the business like a lot of people do.
Yeah. And so now I think you get most of your leads through YouTube now, right? Like digital marketing stuff. So instead of paying for leads, you've kind of grown this evergreen kind of marketing system out there where people reach out to you. Am I understand that right? Yeah,
that's correct. It's 100% organic. It's all YouTube at this point.
How did you get into that?
That's a good question. I was, doing Facebook, doing a little bit of open houses. That's how I was generating most of my business, and kind of just got to the point where I got a little bit burnt out with Facebook and was just looking for other opportunities. And at the time, I was actually watching a lot of YouTube, just different, about hobbies that I'm into, or just different things, just YouTube in general. And actually, kind of, I don't know, it just clicked in my head like, hey, this is a cool kind of creative outlet. I want to try making some YouTube videos. And it wasn't even necessarily real estate focused. It's kind of evolved over time. But when I first got started, it was really just, I want to talk about stuff that I enjoy, which is money and finance and investing and real estate and all these things. Because I don't know, I just need to talk about it. Right. I think sometimes in real estate, it can be pretty lonely. And, especially for me, like I work from home now, I don't have coworkers in the office or anything like that. So I just wanted a creative outlet to kind of share my thoughts and just try to build a community was the idea around it. And eventually it evolved into actually talking about real estate, talking about my local area. And that's how I got into YouTube. That's how I grew it into what it is today.
Yeah, I'm looking at your YouTube page right now, and it's impressive stuff. You've got pros and cons of living in Utah in 2020, pros and cons of living in Salt Lake City, things no one will tell you about living in Salt Lake City, living in Utah as a non-Mormon, and you're looking at these 56,000 views, 16,000 views, 12,000 views. Yeah. How often do you create a video? And some of them you're just like walking down the street. How often do you create a video?
Yeah. So right now I'm doing a video about once a week. Every once in a while, I'll throw out a second one in a week. But when I first started, it was 2 to 3 videos a week for sure.
Yeah. If somebody is thinking about starting that, right? Like we've had a lot of people on the podcast to talk about different classes and courses and things like that. And you're actually providing, some free YouTube courses as part of what's going to be in the toolbox. But if somebody says, hey, I want to start a YouTube page right now, what are the first 4 or 5 videos they should start with? Because so much of everything is just start, right? And if you've never done video before, that can seem overwhelming. But like recording 4 or 5 videos and uploading them to me does not seem overwhelming. Which 4 or 5 would you tell people to do?
Yeah. So the thing that you've got to focus on is you got to look at what people are searching for, and generally with YouTube, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the leads that I'm getting are people relocating to my area. That's kind of been exaggerated because of the pandemic and everything going on with that. So that's been really beneficial actually to my business because people are moving around. And so a lot of people coming in from out of state. So they're looking for these certain video topics. And so the top 5 videos that I'd recommend making first would be pros and cons of living in your area, cost of living in your area, something around the theme of like, don't move to my area if you don't know XYZ. I would also do a vlog, probably 2 vlogs. I'd probably pick the 2 most populous or popular cities in your area and actually go do a vlog around them. So one of my first videos was top 5 neighborhoods in Salt Lake. And I just picked the best 5 neighborhoods where housing was good, schools are good, crime was low, all that stuff. And just went and did a tour. And you can find some examples on my channel of what that looks like. So those are things that people are actually searching for. It's not like, hey, how to buy a house in Salt Lake City. That's not what people are looking for. They're looking for what are the pros and cons of living there? What's the cost of living there? What does it actually look like? Are there trees? Are there sidewalks? How wide are the roads? What do the houses look like? Those are the things that they're actually looking for.
Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Agent Success Toolbox, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. And I know you guys would much rather listen to the content and not the ads and not the sponsors, but this is one that I'm actually super, super excited with.
So many of the realtors that we interview on the show, they talk about how much systems are important and how much follow-up is important. And I'm really, really excited about our new sponsor. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time. And when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. On an interview last week with Agent Mark McGuire, I asked him what his favorite software and what his favorite system was. And he said it was Follow Up Boss. And then he went on for another 3 or 4 minutes to talk about why Follow Up Boss was the best CRM he uses. So there's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. Some of the stats they gave me: Robert Slack, 1.5 billion team in Florida, #1 in the US. He uses Follow Up Boss to get a 400% ROI on his massive paid lead spend. Deborah Beagle, co-owner of the Ashton Group in Nashville, uses Follow Up Boss to guarantee that agents who join her team get 2 homes under contract in the first 90 days. That's a big guarantee for new agents. Barry Jenkins of Your Friends in Real Estate uses Follow Up Boss to automate everything so his team can produce $200 million on 25-hour work weeks. All right, so here's an offer. You guys are going to get this special for being Real Estate Rockstars listeners. Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing, and what do you know? Best name ever, Follow Up. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com/rockstars. So again, followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. All right, everybody, thanks again. Now back to our show.
Yeah, or best neighborhoods in Salt Lake City. I like that. So if you guys want to check out his website, his YouTube page, so it's YouTube. It's living in Salt Lake City, and that's really great advice. I think especially right now, a lot of people are moving around, and more often than not, people are moving in cities and they're upsizing and downsizing, but there are a ton of people that are moving to certain states or changing states. Really, it's sometimes they're not even changing. In times of like crisis, it's really easy for people to say location will change my life. It'll change my world. It'll be different there than it is here. And the last couple of years, there's been so much of that for so many different reasons. And so I think you're right. If for whatever your market is, figuring out what would people be searching about that area, the pros and cons of living there, best neighborhoods, cost of living, great advice to get started. And then if somebody's like, okay, I'm ready to make my first video. I know what my pros and cons are. What advice would you give them about making that video? Like anything they should do before they start, any research they should do? Like, how can they make sure the video turns out good?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously with video, there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm not a creative person. I'm very much more an analytical, very logical, rational type person. And so the creative side that I think comes along with video is something that I had to learn. And I think that for YouTube, that is something that you either need or you need to kind of learn and just jump in with both feet. Even if you're not good at it, I would say you need to do a little bit of research on audio, on camera, camera settings and how cameras work, and lighting. Those are the 3 things that really matter. Oftentimes audio can be the most important as far as like the actual technical filming of the videos. I would say that audio is most important because if a video has bad audio, even if the video quality is amazing, people are not going to watch it because they can't hear. They don't know what's going on. There's a wind noise coming across. People don't want to watch or listen to a video that has bad audio. So getting audio dialed in and then getting the lighting dialed in. So you've got some light on your face, nice background or whatever, something that kind of looks visually appealing. That's going to be helpful as well. And honestly, I think the biggest thing is probably just going for it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to look funny. You're going to have to say the same sentence 20 times. You can fix a lot of that stuff in editing, in the, post editing. So I think a lot of people get hung up on like, oh, I'm not good on camera, or, I need to be all professional or be this or be this way or that way. And ultimately it comes down to just, I know it's super cliche, but kind of just being yourself and just going for it.
Yeah. You could take 20, 30 takes, never, you can always, you can always edit the stuff later, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. One of the things in your form when you filled out, you talked about what was a great tip you learned from our podcast. And one of the things that you put in there was the idea that at the beginning of these YouTube videos, and I don't remember which person I was interviewing that talked about this, but I think he has his own YouTube course, but he talked about at the very beginning of the video being able to say, this is what this video is about. Like, hi, I'm Aaron, and this video is going to be about top 5 things to do in Salt Lake City, or best 5 neighborhoods in Salt Lake City. And then why would someone do that?
Yeah. So you really got to capture their attention. I mean, if you might not know this if you're just starting out your channel, but if you went and looked at my channel, roughly 25 to 30% of people click off the video within the first 3 to 4 seconds. So they click on your video. If they don't like the background, if they don't like the quality of it, if something looks a little bit off, they're going to click off right away. If you don't nail that intro, if you don't nail that first 10, 20, 30 seconds, you're going to lose 50, 60, 70% of people who click on the video. And so even if you've got a video that might say it has 1,000 views, well, if only 50% of them are watching the first 30 seconds, that doesn't do you a whole lot of good because they're not even getting into the meat and potatoes of the actual video. So nailing that intro is so crucial. And that's really where it comes down to, like, don't mess around, don't clickbait them. Don't say, don't tell them a story right off the bat and say, hey guys, here's what I did today and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. They clicked on the video because they want to know what the cost of living is. And you kind of just need to get straight into that. After you kind of caught their attention and you say, hey, here's why you need to watch this video. Then you can kind of say, make sure to reach out to me if you're moving to my area. You can kind of pitch yourself a little bit, but then get right back into the video after that.
So we talked about Facebook leads, we talked about closing 1 in 100. Yeah. What is a YouTube lead like? How often are you getting them? What's that experience like? And how often are you actually doing business with them?
Yeah. The YouTube is the most mind-blowing lead source that I've ever seen. And that's why I've gone all in on it. The lead quality is extremely high. My price point in 2020 went up over $150,000. Not only because the market went up, but primarily because I was working with higher end buyers. Most of the people moving to my area are getting new jobs, or they've got kind of the financial flexibility to make a move and work remote or get a new job or whatever. And generally those people are buying really nice homes. So again, I'd have to check my final numbers. It's been a month or two since I checked, but last I did check, I was sitting around a 7% closing ratio. So the lead flow is lower. I'm not getting hundreds of leads or anything like you can get with Facebook leads. I've probably pulled in about 500 or 600 leads over the last 2 years, but I'm closing at about 7%. So very high ratio, very high quality. These people are reaching out to you. So they really respect what you do as an agent and they respect your time, your professionalism. I think the one thing I also found with Facebook was you get a lot of these leads who you're trying to chase them down. You're like, hey, you're on my website. Let's go look at some houses. Like you're trying to convince them to work with you. And YouTube is the complete opposite. These people reach out to you and they say, I saw your YouTube videos. I can't believe I'm talking to you. I need to, I'm moving to Salt Lake City and here's what I'm looking for. Can you please help me? Like those are literally the conversations that I have. And, I just kind of smile and say, yeah, I would love to help you. Right. I mean, those are the best types of leads. It's like referrals, are sometimes the easiest leads. So lead quality is extremely high. It took me, it does have a little bit longer of a lead time. Generally, if people are moving across state lines, they're not making that decision next month. In some cases, they are. I've helped people where they call me on a Wednesday. They're in town that weekend. We're making offers. They're under contract by Monday. Sometimes it does happen very quick, but most times it is a little bit slower. So it took me about 4 months to get my first lead. And that very first lead I got actually was the biggest deal I've ever done. So it was mind blowing. When I got that lead, I was like, I can't believe this is working. This guy found me off YouTube. He came from Philadelphia. He's a doctor and a professor at the local or at the, university there in his area. And he got a new job here and it was the biggest deal I'd ever done. So amazing.
Awesome. And they feel like they know you already, right? So they call you and they already know. You don't have to do your intro of who you are, your process. They've watched your videos. They feel like they know it. Yeah. You get to go out there and generate the business for it. So you must be a buyer's agent most of the time.
Yeah, it's mostly buyers. So as far as YouTube goes, it's mostly buyers. I have picked up a couple listings actually from people who are here in my market and for whatever reason, they're looking, or maybe they get recommended it on YouTube, but they've come across my videos in one way or another. And they say, hey, I like your exposure, sell my house. So I picked up a couple listings, but it's mostly relocation and buyers.
Did you have a similar experience there this last year of 5 people bidding, putting an offer on a house, 10, we've even heard stories like, hey, there was 20 offers on this house.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's still happening. I mean, through the spring, it was nuts. I mean, we were seeing 20, 30 offers on some houses. Almost every single house, if it was in decent shape, had at least 3 or 4 offers. So even every single house was having multiple offers unless it was just way overpriced or a total piece of crap. But it was insane. Even now, I mean, just last week, my wife and I were looking at moving. We made an offer on a house, over $1 million, which is high for our price for our market. And they still had 12 offers. So we didn't even end up getting the house, but even here in November, which is usually a slow time of year, still 12 offers over $1 million. Like it's nuts. The market's crazy right now.
Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Muchastegui with a quick commercial break. Now, you've been listening, you've been waiting, and now the big Rent Ready mystery can be revealed. Rent Ready just launched rental property accounting for landlords. It's so new, I haven't even got a chance to check it out yet. Now you can easily connect your rental properties from Rent Ready to an accounting software created specifically for landlords with Rent Ready's newest partner, REI Hub. I've used a lot of payment processing systems in the past, and it's always been a challenge, even asking them to generate APIs so it can talk to our existing systems. And they're really, any software that collects payments doesn't make it very easily to do that. But now with Rent Ready, you can automatically transfer properties and charges from your Rent Ready profile. You can track your income and expenses with matching rules and payment templates to speed up your bookkeeping. View your profit and loss or cash flow by property or unit. Get your portfolio's balance sheet, schedulees, and more. Guys, we're so excited about this, and here's something even more exciting. As always, with Rockstars, you get a special opportunity. If you're not currently using Rent Ready, you can sign up using our special code ROCKSTAR50 and get 50% off your Rent Ready subscription. Once you set up your properties, you can add rental property accounting as a premium feature. If you're currently using Rent Ready, go check out the new accounting features designed to save you time and money while you manage your business. And remember, it's Rent Ready with an I at the end, RENTREDI.com. Thanks for listening. Go check them out. So if you're representing buyers most of the time in a market like that, what advice would you give people on how to get their offer accepted? Or, when you're competing against 10 other people, 20 other people, what can you do to get your offer accepted?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it comes down to educating the buyer on how the process works, educating them about what happens with earnest money, how the inspection is going to go, how financing goes, the appraisal, and all of the rules around that. So what I've done to get offers accepted is I'll actually advise clients, hey, we might need to waive our inspection contingency. We might need to waive a financing or appraisal. Here's what's going to happen if we do that. Here's why it'll be stronger. You really have to educate them through the process to make the buyer comfortable with that. And that comes from having confidence and explaining it to them so that they understand it and they feel good about it as long as you do, right? Because a lot of times that's what's necessary is like strong deposit, waive contingencies, good price, quick close, that type of stuff is what sellers are looking for. Sorry. Shuts off. So that's what sellers are looking for in this market. And that's what's required from buyers is just making an offer like that and making them comfortable with it so that they feel good going into an offer like that.
So tell me about the stuff that you submitted to the toolbox. So you've got a free YouTube kind of course that you've put in there. So for listeners, if you guys go to hibandigital.com, you can click like get the toolbox, and everybody we ever interview put stuff in there, some actionable tips on how to improve on your business. Cody, and what'd you put in there?
Yeah. So we've got in there this entire course that I created. At one point I thought, hey, I see a need for this. A lot of agents are asking me questions. I'm going to create a course around this and sell it. And I didn't end up doing much with that, right? Because I realized I'm better off just selling real estate. That's my specialty. That's what I know. So I didn't even do much with that. I made a couple sales and eventually just realized, you know what? I've got this course here that is doing nothing. I'm not really making money from it, but there's a lot of really good value in it. I might as well give it out to people. Now, that's basically what I've done. It covers everything from how to get started, the mindset around YouTube, what to know about analytics, what types of videos to make, how to actually film those videos, It goes in depth, everything A to Z on, how to get started on YouTube and build your own business like I have.
Yeah, that's great. So as we're rounding up the end of the podcast, is there anything else you're really thinking that real estate agents should know? Anything you're thinking about right now that you want to make sure that we tell everybody?
Yeah, I think that, I was really heavy into Facebook for the first 4 years or so of my career. And Facebook was great. When I first got into the business, it was kind of this new thing. Not a lot of agents were doing it. And over time, it got more and more saturated. It got more expensive. It got harder. And, eventually that's kind of why I pulled away from it. So I think a lot of agents are still kind of wrapped up in that. And instead they should be focusing on how do they separate themselves from the pack and do something that's different, right? A lot of agents struggle with networking. A lot of agents struggle with being on video, but yet those are things that, because other agents struggle with them, they are things that can put you, at that next level. So for me, even, I see other agents who are on YouTube and they're making like these, amazing production quality videos. And I'm looking at that like, man, that's the next level. That's where I need to get to, because YouTube is in that beginning stage of like, when I first got started, it was still kind of this new thing. Not a lot of agents doing what we're doing. It's expanding now. It's going to get more saturated. It's going to get more people in there. And so you really kind of have to set yourself apart in one way or another. So I think that's the most important thing that I'm thinking about. And I think most other agents should as well.
That's awesome, man. So if somebody has a referral to send out to Salt Lake City, or they want to learn more about your courses or strategies or your videos, I know they can go to your Live in Salt Lake City YouTube page. How else can they reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely check out the YouTube page. Literally every single title, thumbnail, video on there, feel free to copy it. Just change out Salt Lake City for Atlanta or Austin or, Boston, whatever city you're in, just change it out and you will find success as long as you're consistent with it. So definitely check out the channel. You can also reach me via email, Cody@fastutahhomes.com, just as it sounds, CODY @fastutahhomes.com. Shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. Honestly, no strings attached. I don't have anything to sell. Like I said, I'm giving away my whole course that's just been sitting there. So just reach out. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to network and connect with agents. And especially if you're in a different market, that's good for me. That's good for you, just because I have referred out deals from people who are moving to my area. So I think networking is great and I'd love to chat.
That is so awesome and super generous of you, really, to throw that out there and say, hey, copy my page, change out the words, and it will work for you if you're consistent. That's a huge give, Cody. And I'm sure people are going to reach out to you and get your stuff out of the toolbox. Congrats on your success. It was really cool today getting to kind of talk through starting up, kind of talking through joining a team and getting to keep essentially 30% of the commission and the pros and cons of that, right? You get to learn, doesn't cost you any money. It only costs you time to going through then buying your own leads. And so you're getting to keep a little bit more of the deal. And now it's costing you, $900 to $1,000 a deal instead of, $5,000 a deal. And then now you've created this organic, evergreen, long-term marketing. And I think that process is kind of one that everybody should be aware of, the options that are out there and the work and why. And as somebody, if you're out there and you're ready to start a YouTube page now, Cody talked about it might take 3 or 4 months. So you can get those videos started. You can stay consistent, wait for that 3 to 4 months. And maybe you're going to buy some leads or do some of the other stuff he talked about along the way until those videos start hitting. But really good stuff. Cody, thanks for being a listener to the podcast. Thanks for coming on the show. This was great.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks for listening.
All right, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Everybody that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate. How to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronamuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.